The Southern Horrors, Lynch Law in All Its Phases, by the Honorable Queen Ida B. Wells, The South's Position. Henry W. Grady, in his well-remembered speeches in New England and New York, pictured the Afro-American as incapable of self-government. Through him and others leading men, the cry of the South to the country has been, hands off, leave us to solve our own problem. To the Afro-American, the South says, white man must and will rule. There is little difference between Alabama South and the New South. Her leading citizens are wedded to any method, however revolting, any measures, however extreme, for subjugation of the young manhood of the race. They have cheated him out of his ballot box, deprived him of civil rights, and redressed therefore in civil courts, and robbed him of the fruits of his labor, and still murdering and burning and lynching him. The result is a growing discard for human life. Lynch law has spread an insidious influence to the men in New York State, Pennsylvania, and on the free Western Plains feel they can take the law in their own hands with impunity, especially where Afro-American is concerned. The South is brutalizing to a degree not realized by its own inhabitants, and the very foundation of government, law, and order are in peril. Public sentiment has had a slight reaction, though not sufficient enough to stop the crusading of the lawless and lynching. And the spirit of Christianity of the great M.E. Church was aroused to the frequent and revolting crimes of a weak people, enough to pass a strong condemnation and resolution at its General Conference in Omaha last May. The spirit of the Grand Justice of the Grand Old Party asserted itself sufficient to secure and denounce the wrongs of a feeble declaration of the belief in human rights in the Republican platform in Minneapolis, June 7. Some of the great dailies and weeklies have sung into line declaring that the lynch law must go. The President of the United States issued a proclamation that it would not be tolerated in the territories over which he has jurisdiction. Governor North and Chief Douglas Beckley of Georgia have proclaimed against it. Citizens of Chattanooga, Tennessee have set a worthy example, and they have not only condemned the lynch law, but her public man demanded trial for Weems, an accused rapist, and guarded him while the trial was in progress. The trial lasted 10 minutes, and Weems chose to plead guilty and accept 21 years sentence, then invite certain death that awaited him outside the courtroom of the police if he had told the truth and shown the letters which he had from the white woman in the case. Colonel A.S. Suller of Nashville, Tennessee, is so overcome by the horrible state of affairs that he addressed the following letter in earnest to the Nashville American. Nothing since I've been a reading man has impressed me with the decay of manhood among the people of Tennessee, as a dastardly submission to the mob brain. We have reached an unprecedented low level, an awful criminal depravity for substituting the mob for the right of court and jury, giving up the jail keys to the mob whenever they demand. We do it in the largest cities and in country towns. We do it at midday. We do it at 4. Not to say formal notice or so thoroughly and generalized as is acquiesce in the murders that have discarded the formulas of mass. They go into town where everybody knows them, sometimes under the gaze of a governor, in the presence of court, in the presence of sheriffs and his deputy, in the entire presence of the police force. Take out a prisoner, take his life, often with a fiendish glee, and often with acts of cruelty and barbarism which impress the reader with a degeneracy rapidly approaching the savage life. That the state is disgraced but faintly expressed in the humiliation which is settled upon the once proud people of Tennessee. The state in its majesty, though its organized labor for which the people pay liberally, makes one record, but of one note and one criminal falsehood, was hung by a person to the jury unknown. The murder at Shelbyville is only a verification of what an intelligent man would know to come, because if a mob rumor is as good as a proof. These efforts brought upon apologies are a short halt, but the lynching mania which raged again through the past 3 months was unabated fury. The strong arm of the law must be brought to bear upon lynchers as a fair punishment, but this cannot be undone unless a healthy public sentiment demands such a strong action. The men and women in the South who disapprove of lynching remain silent on the preparations of such outrage, and are participant criminals, accomplishments, accessories, before and after a fact, and equally guilty with the actual lawbreakers who would not possess if they had known neither the law nor the militia would be employed against them. Self-help. In the creation of this healthier public sentiment, the Afro-American do for himself what no one else can do for him. The world looks upon wonder that we have conceded so much and retained law-abiding under such great outrage and provocation. To Northern capital and Afro-American labor, the South owes its rehabilitation. If labor is withdrawn, capital will not remain. The Afro-American is thus the backbone of the South. Through knowledge and judicious exercise of this power in lynchings and localities, could many times affect a bloodless revolution. The white man dollar is his god, and will stop at this will be nothing to stop an outrage in many localities. The Afro-American in Memphis announced the lynching of three of their best citizens and urged and waited for authorities to act in the matter to bring the lynchers to justice. No attempt was made to do so, and the black man left the city by the thousand, bringing great stagnation to every branch of business. Those who remained so injured the business of the steer car company by standing off the cars that the superintendent, manager, and treasury called personally on the editor of the Free Speech and asked him to urge our people to give them their purchases again. Other businessmen became alarmed over the situation, and the free speech was run away. The ran away to colored people might therefore be easily controlled. A meeting of white citizens in June, 3 months after the lynching, passed a resolution for the first time condemning it, but they did not punish the lynchers. Every one of them was known by name because they had been selected to do the dirty work by some of the very citizens who passed these resolutions. Memphis is fast losing her black population, who proclaim as they go that there is no protection of life and property in any Afro-American citizen in Memphis who is not a slave. The Afro-American citizens of Kentucky, who intellectually and financial improvement have been phenomenal, have never had a separate car law until now. Delegations and petitions poured out legislation against it, yet a bill passed and the Jim Crow car Kentucky is a legalized institution. Will the great masses of Negroes continue to patronize the railroad? A special from Covington, Kentucky says, Covington, June 13th, the railroads of the states are beginning to feel a very unmarked effect of a separate coach bill recently passed by the legislature. No class of people in the state has so many and so largely attended exclusion as the blacks. All of these have been abandoned, and regular travel is reduced to a minimum. A competent authority say that the loss of such various roads will reach 1 million this year. A call to the state conference in Lexington last June had delegates from every county in the state. Those delegates, ministers, teachers, heads of secrets and other orders, and heads of every family should pass the word around that for every member of the race of Kentucky to stay off the railroads unless obligated for a ride. If they did so, and their advice was followed persistently, the convention would not need to petition the legislature to appeal the law or raise money to file a suit. The railroad companies would be so affected that they would in self-defense lobby to have a separate car law repealed. On the other hand, as long as railroad cars can get Afro-American exclusions, they will always have plenty of money to fight all their suits brought against them. They will be aided in doing so using partisan public sentiment which passed the law. White men passed the law, and white judges and juries will pass upon the suits against the law, running their judgment in line in their indifference to their greater power. Appeal to the white pocket has ever been more effectual than all the appeals ever made into his conscience. Nothing will be gained to a further sacrifice of manhood and self-respect. By the right to exercise his power and industrial factor of the South, the Afro-American demand and secure his right and punishment of lynchers and fair trials of accused rapists. Of the human outrages, the only case that's proposed of lynching did not occur where the white men themselves endured in Paducah, Kentucky, and prevented it. The only time an African American who was assaulted got away with it had been when he had a gun and used it in self-defense. This lesson teaches and when every African American should ponder is that a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every black home and should be used for that protection which the law refused to give. When a white man who was always the aggressor knows he runs a great risk of biting the dust every time this African American victim does, he will have to pay greater respect for Afro-American life. The more the African American yields and cringes and bags, the more he has to do so. The more he is insulted, outraged, and lynched. The assertion has been substantiated throughout these pages in the press that continues unreliable and undoctored reports of lynching. And one of the most necessary things for the race to do is to get these facts before the public. The people must know before they can act. There is no educator compared with the press. The Afro-American papers are the only ones that will print the truth and lack the means to employ agents and detectives to get to the facts. The race must rally a mighty host to support of their journals, thus being able to do much of them in the way of investigation. A lynching occurred in Port Jarvis, New York, the first week of June. A white and a colored man was implicated in an assault upon a white girl. It was charged that the white man paid the colored boy to make the assault, which he did on a public highway in broad daylight and was lynched. This too was done by party unknown. The white man in the case still lived. He is in prison and promised to fight his case on trial. At the preliminary exam, it developed that he had been a suitor of the girl. She had reproached and refused him, yet he had given him money, and he had been sent threatening letters demanding more. At the day before the examination, she was so wrought up, she left home and wandered miles away. She said she did so because she was afraid of the man's testimony. Why should she be afraid of the prisoner? Why should she yield to his demand of money if not preventing him to expose something he knew? It seems explainable that the only hypothesis that a liaison occurred between the colored boy and the girl and the white man knew about it. The press is singularly silent. Has it had motive? We owe it to ourselves to find out. The story comes from Lennar, Kansas, October 1st, that a young white lady held at bay till daylight without alarming anyone in the house, a burly Negro who had entered from her room in bed. The burly Negro was promptly lynched without investigation or examination of the inconsistent stories. A house fire burned to the ground in Montgomery, Alabama, in Monroe County, October 13th, a few weeks ago, also burned the bodies of the owner and melted piles of gold and silver. These discoveries led to the conclusion that an awful crime was prompted by a motive for robbery. The suggestion that the whites was at the brutal lust of the incentive, and there is nearly 200 Negroes living within a radius of 5 miles of the place, the conclusion was inevitable that some of them were the perpetrators. Upon this suggestion, probably made by the real criminal, the mob acted upon the conclusion and arrested 10 Afro-Americans, 4 of whom tell the world confessed to the deed of murdering Richard L. Johnson and outraging his daughter Jeanette. These 4 men, Burley Jones, Moses Johnson, Jim and John Parker, none of them 25 years old of age, upon this conclusion were taken to jail, hanged, shot, and burned, yet alive, in the night of October 12th. The same report says that Mr. Johnson was on the best terms with his Negro tenant. The race must be outraged and find out the facts of this awful hurling of men into eternity of position and give them an indifferent and apathetic counting. We feel we must be a garbage report, but yet how can we prove it? And this is the end of the book of the self-help. We got to do it ourselves. Help ourselves on that. Because they don't get no better. And they're going to keep on blaming us. So we got to help ourselves and fight back. And that's what basically what the Queen's saying. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Much love. And I learned a lot from doing this book. Peace. Enjoy.